All right, so to find angle B, we're going to do 90 minus 33. All right, well, we're just doing 90 minus 33 right now. So what is 90 minus 33?
67. 57.
Yes, 57. All right, so we found the third angle of our triangle, right? So if you are given one angle, right, you can automatically find the other one. Subtract it from 90. Okay? So one part down, 2 parts to go. Now we have to find our other sides, right? So we know SOHCAHTOA, right? It doesn't go away, guys. We use it all year long. Okay, shh. So let's look at, let's look at angle A, right? So we know the angle measurement, right? And we need to find sides A and side C, right? Let's start with side A, right? So we have to use this angle and this side. So looking at, let's make A our reference angle. What trig function will let us use then sides A and side B? No, what trig function? Tangent, right? Because look, listen, guys, I need you all to knock off the side conversations and just let me get through this. Okay, because everybody needs to be able to hear what I'm saying and listen to my explanations. If you're talking, you're not listening. So, again, because this is our opposite from angle A, this is our adjacent, this is our hypotenuse. So right now we're trying to find side A. So we're going to write an equation. Okay, so we know that the tangent of angle A, which is 33 degrees, right? So we know that the tangent of 33 is going to be equal to the opposite side, which is A, over the adjacent side, which is what? 23. All right. Shh. 33 came from this angle right here. We set, since we know the value of this, it was given to us. Shh. No. We were given this value, and we have to come up with a trig function that includes the side we already have, which is side B. And so since I just picked A to start with. So from this angle, I want side A, and I need to use side B. So that's my opposite over adjacent, so that's tangent. You have to look at what angle you're starting with, and you have to pick the trig function that will give you just one variable left. Okay, so that's where you guys have to really make sure that you know and understand SOHCAHTOA. You've got to be able to recognize that if you have opposite and adjacent, you're automatically going to go tangent. Okay? So now, how would we, in this equation, get A by itself? Multiply both sides by 23, right? All right, so now in your calculator, you can just plug in 23 times tangent 33, and that's going to give you your answer. All right, so somebody do that for me.
It's 14.94.
All right, so A is now 14.94. All right, so let's just so we had to find, right, we had to find angle B, which we did, it's 57. We found side A, which is now 14.94. Now we have to find side C. So there are two ways you can do this. You can do another trig function, or now that you have two sides, you can do the Pythagorean theorem. All right, let's do the Pythagorean theorem. All right, shh. I'm going to shrink this a little bit. Maybe. Oh, I'm going to shrink that part. Just move this up. Okay. What? 14.94. All right, so now let's do Pythagorean theorem. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So we know that a is 14.94. And we'll square that. We know that B is 23, and we're trying to find C squared. So what is 14.9 squared?
223.2.
Thank you. And 23 squared?
529.
529?
Yeah.
Okay. And then when you add those together, what do you get?
752.2.
So 752.2 is C squared. So now we will take the square root of both sides to get C by itself. So then C is equal to what?
27.43.
And you solved the right triangle. Yes, Clay.
Where did you get the 23 from?
It's given here as the side of B. Yes, Abby.
Wouldn't it be faster to do the trig function?
It technically, yes. It would be, but some people, so you could do cosine and solve it that way. Yes, Daniel.
So the only thing I'm not understanding is how do you know which trig function to use for like the things that you're getting? Like I get how do you know to use the cosine?
Because if I wanted, so let's say I wanted to use a trig function to find A, right? At this point, I only know side B. So I have to come up with a trig function that's going to use side B. And and typically you want, in case you would like subtract wrong or mess up, I typically always suggest using the angle that's given to you at the beginning. So you have this, that makes this your reference angle, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to use this side. So anything that's going to have that adjacent side. And then whatever side you want to look for. So like that's, so if we wanted to, when we found A, we used tangent because with that being our reference angle, that was opposite over adjacent.
So could you do, and the hypotenuse doesn't go, could you do
Right.
solve for the hypotenuse?
You could do cosine of 33 equals 23 over hypotenuse.
Okay. And you're getting the cosine because
It's adjacent in hypotenuse, yes.
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So it'd be cosine 33 equals 23 over C.
And then you would still multiply for 23.
Right, well, you're going to multiply both sides by C and then divide by your cosine to get C by itself because C starts on the bottom. We're going to do an example like that in a minute.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so let's do another one. Okay, so let's start with this triangle. Okay, so we'll do the same kind of process again here. Okay, so let's say we've got angle B up here, A down here, C is over here. In this particular problem, we'll have side A that we don't know will be given side B and side C. So we don't know any angles. But we have enough information to find the third side, right? How would we do that? Pythagorean theorem. So let's do that first. Okay, so A squared plus B squared, so 4.58 squared is equal to C squared, so 7.65 squared. Okay, so what does that give us? 20.98 for 4.58? And what about the other one? Thank you. So now we're going to subtract. So that gives us what?
37.54.
All right, and then take the square root of that to get what?
I got 6 point.
All that I'm just kidding.
No.
I got 6.13.
That's what I got.
Okay.
6.123.
Yeah. What? All right, it depends on how many decimal places you left. If you just like pulled it from, yeah. But yeah, that makes sense because, 6 times 6 is 36, so it'll be a little bit bigger than 6 to get 37 something.
All right, let's see what it is.
All right. Zane? Hush.
I'm so confused.
All right, we just did the Pythagorean theorem to find the missing side.
I'm still trying to figure out last question also.
All right, let's move on to this one and then I can go back over that one with you guys. Okay? All right, so we found side A. So now we need to find our angles. So we're going to use some trig functions. So what angle do you want to find first, A or B?
B.
Okay. So make B the reference angle. So at this point, when you have all three sides, now you can use any trig function. However, I'm going to, again, highly recommend you use the numbers that were given to you in case you messed up the Pythagorean theorem so that you don't mess up the rest of your problems.
So use B and C.
All right, so what trig function from angle, if B is the reference angle, this is what side? Opposite. What is C? So what trig? Sine, right? So the sine of angle B is equal to the opposite side, which is 4.58, over the hypotenuse, which is 7.65. So, what we learned, yes, Zane?
There's just one thing. The only thing I'm confused about is like how you find those, like how you know to use function.
Yeah.
All right, because we're finding angle B. We chose angle B. From angle B, you want to use information that was given to you. So that's this side over here and this one. So looking at that, this side in relation to angle B is the opposite. This one is always the hypotenuse. So the trig function that relates opposite and hypotenuse is sine.
Wait, so say if it's like a it has SOH, so that's like sine and opposite hypotenuse?
Yes.
Oh, okay, that makes sense for it. That's what you on the last one too.
Yeah.
Alright, they all come together.
All right. That's good, as long as we're there. Okay, so let's talk about, again, yesterday we learned how to find angle measures, right? In the calculator. How do we find the angle measure?
I wouldn't say
That's the first, second, third.
The -1, right? So in your calculator, you are going to, listen. In your calculator, you're going to plug in sine -1 of 4.58 over 7.65. And that is going to give you an angle. Now, for these, round your angles to the nearest whole number because it's going to make your life easier.
37.
All right, so that gives you 37 degrees. So we found that angle B is 37. Now, what can we do to find angle A? No. I said for angles to go ahead and round to the whole number just because it's easier to work with. Because now we're going to subtract from 90, right? Because once you have one angle, you can subtract from 90 to find the other. Okay, so find angle A is going to be 90 minus 37, which is... You're done.
Let's go, guys. And angle C is 90, right?
Yes, angle C is always 90.
Oh, I was like,
Yeah, it's a right triangle, so C is always 90. Well, also because you guys are stopping and asking questions.
This would normally take me forever.
It won't.
Can I go back to the other one?
Yes.
Because, like, I'm still